the very first session of this final stretch will focus on the law as code in the context of the use of reference data and semantics. So we'll look first at the drafting of EU law in the era of AI and digitisation. And to do so, it's a pleasure to welcome Fernando Nubla Durango, who's project officer at the European Commission, and Willy Van Puymbroeck, who's active senior also at the European Commission. Welcome to you both, and thanks for being with us. So, Fernando, over to you.
Well, it's okay. I'll give it a start. Willy Van Puymbroeck, and what we will be doing in about 10 minutes is give you a flavor of what we have been doing over a longer period of time, but also focus on this drafting legislation in the area of artificial intelligence and digitization. So the presentation, and Fernando will deal with the slides. The presentation will give a very brief introduction of what is the context in which we're operating. I'll then go more in detail on the study that was done in 2021. I'm not going, there is no time to go into the details, but I'll give you the flavor. The report is available on Joinup. If you go to Joinup and you put in drafting legislation in the area of AI and digitization, you get to the study itself. It's quite interesting reading. We'll then give you a short flavor of what LIOS has on offer, which is the tool that is being developed, and I'll come back with some of the conclusions. So the context in which we're operating, and that's on the next slide, we're talking about EU lawmaking. In fact, EU lawmaking, it's not only making laws, it's also pretty much developing policies. And what I gave here as a characteristic is this is a managed complexity. I mean, lawmaking is typically done in teams of people. It involves 22, well, in the Union, it involves 23 languages, all sorts of different laws, different templates. It includes tables, figures, footnotes, what have you. And what our drafters, people in colleagues in the Commission that are developing law or developing policy want is something which is very similar to Word, which have more or less the same functionality. But I mean, it's also what we are developing is something specific to what we do, which is lawmaking. So the core concept behind it is all it's about machine readable law. It's use of open standards. With using Akoma Ntoso, we have, if you want a dialect, the Akoma Ntoso AKN for EU, and we would like to explore the potential that current IT is offering these days. We're dealing with lawmaking, which also is a specific domain. I mean, it needs to have the necessary flexibility. The IT needs to have the necessary flexibility. I mean, it's a very specific domain. It's not just drafting a note or something like that. We'll focus, as I said already, on LIOS. That's the tool, a drafting tool. It's open source. We're in the Commission. We're rolling LIOS out, and the idea is that by 2025, all laws in the Union, in the Commission, would be made using LIOS. It's part of a bigger initiative, which is about digital transformation of lawmaking, and it's a Commission flagship on open source. So we're really encouraging the use of open source, and the idea is that we could develop this together with, amongst others, member states. So next slide is saying on the drafting legislation in the area of AI and digitization. So what did we do is we launched a study contract. The study contract was carried out by the University of Bologna. It was executed in 2021, and it involved in-depth desk research, intensive consultation in the Commission with the business, a number of use cases. I'll say a little bit more on that, but also smart functionalities. We come back to that. The idea was indeed to explore and demonstrate the potential of innovative IT, and that in order to improve the lawmaking process, the quality, efficiency, and the transparency. So what was the outcome? And that's on the next slide. I'll go fast as we have only 10 minutes. Next one. So the main two concepts that came out of this study is that what we see is we would like to develop an IT ecosystem, and that IT ecosystem is centered around the smart LEOs that will be used for drafting legislation. That smart LEOs is going to be integrated in a decision workflow system, and that all is fitting a legal data space for the analysis of law and making also the law available. Technically speaking, we are talking about a hybrid AI ecosystem where also we have the users, very much user-centric user involved. So it's about a combination of technologies. It's data-driven, it's the semantic web, there are algorithms, symbolic, sub-symbolic reasoning, and so on. There is also the document drive, which is basically saying the contextual information that is embedded in the legal document, how can we make maximum use of that? And that is somewhat which is specific to this domain. On the next one. So we examined the legal drafting itself, the decision support systems, the legal system for data analytics, but I'll focus a little bit more on the next slide, which is basically saying, the next one, Fernando, which is saying that we had 4 use cases. These are proof of concepts. One use case was about corrigenda. Here the idea was how can we take all the corrigenda that were made in the last 10 years, and what are the lessons we can draw from a detailed analysis of these. Second one was about derogations. I mean, what we try to do there is we try to connect derogations to the initial obligations and see whether, automatically, this is all done automatically using AI, machine learning, natural language processing, etc. But this is about can we, let's say, document the transitory measures and derogations automatically in document. Third use case that we did is digital readiness of legislation. So here the idea was to develop an indicator that would indicate my law, the law that I'm drafting is digital ready. It's also depending on other laws that you're referring to, and you try to come up with an indicator on how digital ready is my legislation. And then the last use case, it's as said, POC was about taking one of the EU directives. It's a EU directive on maritime spatial planning, and see how that is implemented in this case in Italian law, and see what how it is implemented, all that done automatically. So that's just an indication of the study, and I'll give the floor now to Fernando to say a bit more about LEOs.
Thank you, William. So about LEOs, why we did LEOs? One of the main priorities of the European Commission is to digital transform the processes that we currently perform, and one of those is the drafting of legislation. So we want to improve the efficiency, quality, and also transparency of the process. We also are now in the era of digital transformation, so we want to use new technologies and innovative technologies like artificial intelligence or like machine learning to improve also this process. We want to put the users on the focus, on the center. So we want to create a tool that everyone can use and can collaborate while drafting legislation. And last but not least, we are doing this open source. We want to, again, to be autonomy and vendor independence, and we want to use open standards. So thanks to the open standards and the open source tool, we can offer this also to the member states. I will do a very brief demo to show you the application. So this is Leos. This is an example on drafting of regulation for the European Parliament and on the Council. And as you see, we have on the left side the table of content, the navigation pane. In the middle, the text, where you can scroll down and go for edition of different parts. In this case, I will quickly edit Article 1. I can create a new point here. I create a second, third. So the tool is automatically putting the correct numbering. You don't need to think about which level and which numbering you need to use. Also, we have a limit. So if I try to create more than the level of the indent, I cannot create that structure. So we want that the drafter, they focus on the content and the tool is taking care of the structure. I want to show you one automatic feature that we have, for instance, is the creation and management of internal references. When you do a reference, for instance, to an Article 3 first paragraph, the reference is automatically generated. You don't need to type it manually. And what is better is that when you modify the document, and for instance, you create a new article between Article 1 and 2, the reference will be automatically updated. So I will just create a new article, and you see that the reference now is pointing to the Article 4. Other features that we have, as we say, collaborative, we have the possibility to create comments, suggestions, work together, we keep track of all the versions, and you have the possibility also to import documents in our case, from the official journal.
Fernando, we're going to have to move to questions. So I don't know if there's a final key point that you would like to make rather quickly, and then we can move on to the questions.
Yes, I will move to the conclusions and I give the floor back to Willy. Thank you.
So what we wanted to do is give you a flavor of Leos and what we're doing. We're investing now in smart functionalities. We all start by saying drafting is at the origin of everything. It provides a good playground to use innovative IT. Innovative IT is readily available. There is a source, open standards help. There is the knowledge that is in this digital acquis that is there waiting to be used. And all about this is the cultural change we would like to bring to lawmaking, the digital transformation that accompanies with it. And we're very much interested in collaboration with member states, but whoever is interested in this domain, we're on open source, and collaboration is what we're looking for. And Leos is for use if you want it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm sure your call has been heard by several people in our audience, and you're going to get feedback in the coming days. We have a few questions here. Is Leos an XML editor?
Yes, indeed. Yeah? We are using the XML standard, and in fact, we are using the Akoma Ntoso for you standard on top. So it is XML based and in using the Akoma Ntoso standard.
Okay, and which open standards are envisaged within machine-readable law?
We haven't made any decision on that. What we have been doing is exploring whatever is available, and whatever is available, especially in open source. But we haven't come up with saying this is the set of tools that we will be using.
Okay, and I have a last question, but I'd ask you for a very brief answer, which may not be obvious. But how can the use of AI be optimized to improve the efficiency and accessibility of legislative drafting while ensuring transparency in the lawmaking process? So a short answer to that?
I mean, the short answer is all this is machine readable. So once you can use to a certain extent whatever IT tool you have to make it accessible to get referencing going to. I mean, it's in this ecosystem, it's all about using IT at the service of a user that can access any information and process it as he or she wants.
Thank you very much, Willy, and thank you, Fernando. Thanks for being with us this afternoon. And let's hope that you do get a lot of feedback on your call. Bye-bye for now.